Yesterday, there was a report out of the New York Times that Kevin McCarthy told fellow Republicans in the near aftermath of January 6th, the insurrection attempt, that he would ask Trump to resign. This report comes out of a part of a book written by Alexander Burns and Jonathan Martin of the New York Times. This is a part of a trend that I think is troubling. Bob Woodward did this too. They've sat sitting on information about the Trump administration in particular in order to sell their books. So they seem to have had this information for quite a while. And this is a part of the drip, drip, drip in order to promote their book. But they did. So they withheld it from their employer, the New York Times, honestly, and waited, sat on it, issued a report detailing this information, or put it in an article, I should say. It also said in that article that McConnell wanted to pursue impeachment. So McCarthy said he would ask Trump to resign. McConnell wanted to pursue impeachment. Kevin McCarthy angrily denied these claims, said that's outrageous. A few hours later, whoops, audio of him saying just that in a conversation with Liz Cheney was released. Here it is.
Here it is.
Liz, you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Kevin. I guess there's a question. When we were talking about the 25th Amendment resolution, and you asked if what happens if it gets there after he's gone. Is there any chance? Are you hearing that he might resign? Is there any reason to think that might happen?
I've had some few discussions. My gut tells me no. I'm seriously thinking of having that conversation with him tonight. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. From what I know of him, I mean, you guys all know him too. Do you think he'd ever back away? But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him. This is what I think. No, it'll pass the House. I think there's a chance it'll pass the Senate even when he's gone. And I think there's a lot of different ramifications for that. Now, I haven't had a discussion with the Dems that if he did resign, would it not happen? Now, this is one personal fear I have. I do not want to get into any conversation about him partying or that. I mean, the only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation we should resign. I mean, that would be my take, but I don't think he would take it, but I don't know.
So that's McCarthy in a conversation with Liz Cheney. I think these New York Times reporters made it pretty clear who their source was for this. Liz Cheney, I think, recorded a crap ton of conversations with McCarthy, and maybe she's one of the sources on this McConnell story. But here is the clip the next day, January 11th. That was from January 10th. More audio comes out of Kevin McCarthy now just explicitly attributing responsibility for the Capitol riots on January 6th to Trump himself. And he says that Trump claimed responsibility himself. I'm skeptical about this. I'm skeptical that McCarthy's characterization of his tough talk to Trump is actually how it went down here. But here's this other piece of audio that came out, I believe, this morning.
But let me be very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts. I asked him personally today, does he hold responsibility for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened.
Sure. That sounds like
and he needs to acknowledge that.
Now, just to be clear, that's McCarthy saying the former president acknowledged.
And we could keep it rolling.
He bore responsibility for what happened that day. That audio came on January 11th.
But let me be very clear to
I
all
thought there
of
was
you.
more to that. I thought they might have played because there was a separate clip. It's really not worth it. Of McCarthy responding to these claims earlier in the day, where he's like, "I don't know what you're referring to," feigning ignorance. The reality is that, in regards to the first call that we played, he was caught in a lie. In regards to this other call, he cannot attribute responsibility for January 6th to Donald Trump in the current climate in the Republican Party. The Republican Party, most of their voters feel that there was at least some voter fraud, some evil doings behind the scenes that allowed for Biden to win. And they have the base, the media apparatuses of the Republican Party, the right-wing media, has primed Republican voters to think that January 6th was righteous. So at the time, all of these Republican lawmakers were outraged, kind of afraid for their own lives. There's nothing good or benevolent about their outrage in this instance. They were just scared. And then the dust settled a little bit, and they took the temperature of the political climate, and they realized that, wait, we have created such a monstrous voter base in terms of the expectations that they have for us as leaders, that they actually kind of like this, and we can't go against Donald Trump in this way. So in private calls to Liz Cheney and to the rest of the caucus, you have Kevin McCarthy assuring the rest of the lawmakers, I have a handle on this. But really, they're just playing the waiting game. They were waiting to see how the Republican base would respond. They did not respond in the way that those lawmakers initially responded. And so they go, we're going to go with that. And McCarthy now is going to be on Trump's shit list. And he knows it, because that audio is as clear as day. And I highly doubt that in regards to that second call where he says that he went to the White House and said, you bear responsibility, and Trump admitted it. That is called, in my opinion, a saving face moment for McCarthy when he tries to go back to his caucus there, because there's just no chance that that's how that went down.
Yeah, Trump never said I bear some responsibility. That's ridiculous. It's interesting, this and the Piers Morgan clip we played yesterday, that the big lie is coming back into focus a little bit, which I find, even if it's belated because these New York Times reporters are saving it for a book release, I'm glad that this is coming back up, because I think it is a pretty alarming thing to have gotten sort of brushed under the rug, and to have let the GOP off the hook on it, because like you said, they are trying to ride both horses, where it's the full on, this was stolen, Trump should be the president, versus like the kind of soft version of that, like Tom Cotton, like people have concerns, and what about this and that. And then what we all know is the reality is that there's no evidence for any of this BS, and
they know it too.
Exactly, and it's extremely dangerous. And the media, I mean, it says everything about American media that we had to wait until some guys could get a publishing deal out for this to know about this stuff. Yeah,
but again, I mean, like, Liz Cheney, reprehensible in many ways, but I am appreciative of her ability to log information.
Yeah, no.
I mean, come on, like, this has got to be her as the source, I think.
This is whenever like the Never Trump sort of Lincoln Project type Republicans like say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for what I've done." This is what actually is needed instead of apology. It's material support,
backstabbing
as far as like information. Yeah, so like, give us the keys to your emails, give us your text messages with all these freaks, and let's see what we can use to damage them.
Yep. I mean, I think, Liz Cheney, we'll see where Trump has endorsed her primary challenger. We'll see where that goes. But I think she's taken this attitude of, if I'm out of here, I'm going down swinging, and I'm going to take some of these suckers down with me. And Kevin McCarthy, he is not strong enough in terms of his political skills to meet this moment.
No.
McConnell's able to weasel out of this stuff pretty easily. But Kevin McCarthy, he is in over his head. And that is a fun sight to see.